Good morning, everybody. Thank you for listening. And hopefully I'm going to just take you through some of the work we've done about Adcopy and what we've used Adthena to really focus on what ads we're using, what our competitors are using, and how we can adapt or mimic that in using Adthena and then testing that out. So that's us, InsureandGo. That's our website. You might have heard of us before. Don't know. Anyone bought travel insurance before? Anyone bought travel insurance from InsureandGo? Yeah. Okay. So we count ourselves as UK's largest travel insurance specialist. We aim to offer high-value travel insurance at low prices. We've got a website and we've also got a call centre. So we obviously drive quite a few people through both those channels. And what I'd say is it's important to drive people to the website, not just for our sales online, but also sales to go to the call centre. We actually have our phone numbers on the website, so that's actually how all of our kind of calls to the call centre are driven by people visiting our website. We don't advertise the phone number or an external advertising or anything like that. So actually driving traffic to the website has two benefits for us as a company. Okay. So just as a quick overview about what we use Adthena for here. Pretty obvious, I'm sure, anyone who's using the tool, what's happening. I come in the morning, have a look. What the hell? My CPCs have gone flying through the roof. Oh, my impression share's down, click-through rates are down. What happened? So actually, I use this on a quite regular basis to work out what the hell everybody else is doing, where they're going through, what happened in the marketplace yesterday. We are quite top-heavy on our terms, so it's quite good. We can actually focus down on those top terms to see what's going on quite quickly. Keyword mining, kind of previously bit of touch on that. Work out if there's any search terms that we're not using. What's an opportunity for us? Where we would go for. Okay. This is something that I've started doing this year. Expanded text ad capping analysis. I don't know if anyone else in the room is, but we've actually experienced quite a lot of capping. So shortened descriptions, shortened headlines actually dropped off. So actually, the ads we're presenting to a customer do not make sense. Actually, when you're trying to find that what's happening using the Google tools and everything like that, it's actually really hard to actually see that in place unless you do a Google search and see it. One thing we've been using the Adthena tool is to actually have a look at our own ads and see what the hell the extended text ad actually looks like, and using the tool to take all that in. We've experienced quite a lot of this, actually a lot more than we originally thought, and it's enabled us to focus our ads to make sure those expanded text ads make sense to the customer, which ultimately we need it to do. What we were finding, and I'll be perfectly honest, is headlines dropped halfway through, so actually you read the whole ad, it doesn't make sense. A sentence sort of cut in half, and you're like, that's not what we do. So we've used it a little bit to see that, and one of the points to look at is to have a look for those three little dots, because then you can start seeing kind of what actually Google are doing to those text, to the ads actually in a live environment as such. And actually we've been using that quite a lot recently, and I think that's going to only go further as they kind of expand out even more over the next few months, and likewise. And what I kind of came up here and what the guys asked me to cover on is competitor ad copy analysis. And I'll go a little bit further on that, but we use the tool quite a lot to see what everybody else is doing and also what we're doing and where we can hit, what we can look at, and what's out there at the moment. Okay, I'll show you one of our searches. This is just the top of our main term, travel insurance. Anyone else do travel insurance in the room? Okay, you can listen. But that's fine. Can you please leave? No. But yeah, that's the search. So it's a competitive environment. We've got some big players in the finance industry who compete on our terms. Ultimately, I'm not going to think Money Supermarket compete on the term. They've got big budgets, but we do have a lot of other players, and it's very competitive. Okay. So in conjunction with the team at Adthena, we're starting to use the tool to look at similarities and differences within the ad copy, and just to see what's the same and what's different. I kind of knew this, but using the tool in Adthena and this research has really shown me that the ad copy in travel and kind of has three dominant streams used by advertisers. This whole price value, so from X amount, coverage of product, so what's age maybe 65 plus, kind of we provide kind of accident cover, kind of travel disruption, or kind of the product kind of levels, and also this whole quality of product thing. And when I mean that, I mean awards, reviews, star ratings. I don't know if it's in other people's environments, but award-winning seems to be everyone seems to be an award-winning travel insurance provider of some kind. Whether that's true, don't know, but well, everybody seems to have an award of some kind. I won't say that some are bought, but okay. So what we've used Adthena, and where we've worked with the team over there, is to find similar messages worded across all the advertisers. What words, what messages are they all using? And that, obviously, we now try to avoid using those to make our ads stand out, because we're not using the same words, the same messages, the same phrases. So when you actually go down deep into the ad, you actually notice the amount of similarities between everybody's ad. So we're using the tool, and the team over Adthena have helped us to be able to really look at these are the words that are being used often, and these are the words that maybe aren't used as much. So we can really kind of delve down and look to see, can we change our wording? Can we make ours have a point of difference? So we only look at our top 20 converting keywords, because if we didn't, we would just have a spectrum of words, and I'm sure you guys would like. And we also only look at our top competitors. Those are the ones who now ultimately are the ones kind of appearing top of the page most often, which with the new Google searches, that's kind of basically the majority people. But this whole position 4 is within our environment, and it might well be like yours, the one that ultimates the others. But we look at our top competitors. That is both the comparison sites and also kind of direct competitors. So guys like for us, the post office, possibly kind of some of the other guys in the travel insurance environment. So as I said before, we've used it to look at words, phrases which are used often, and those which aren't used as frequently. And we take that out, we determine the messages, the computers, and then we try to implement point of difference copy. So ultimately, it's like looking at words like, is best used a lot? Is quality used a lot? Do they use from price, or a special offer, a percentage off, or a discount messaging? And what we've started trying to implement is that our ads will try to avoid using the same words that everybody else is. So on page, it starts making our ads have that little bit of point of difference. It's hard to negate that, but when you kind of sometimes look at an ad page, and if we want to have a raise of hands, you kind of notice that every ad is basically the same, and often there is a lot of similar phrases and wordings used in every ad, and it actually makes ads really, really hard to stand out. What we do then is we then test, as you should, some of this new ad copy. We've put our findings into place, and what we found is some of those has actually led to a higher click-through rate by having words that aren't being used by other competitors. It has proved those ads drive through a higher click-through rate. I'm not going to say, yeah, it blows click-through rates up 20%. We've seen some testing actually drive a 0.5% increase in click-through rate. It's not huge, but in some environments, a 0.5% increase actually in your click-through rate is actually a reasonable amount of traffic, especially on some of these high keyword terms. And therefore, we've seen that go through, and we now implement that and have phased those words all the way through. And what we're starting to see now is our competitors are starting to copy some of the wording that we use, have changed to, and we're starting to see those ads. So this is analysis we're going to have to start always carrying on to try to create that point of difference. But also, on the flip side, and I will say this as a thing, we also create ad copy that competes with the guys. We don't use messaging that goes completely off the basis of those three key kind of areas, because ultimately, if everybody's doing it, there's a reason everybody does these phrases and does these kind of these areas, that they work. That's what the customer is looking for. So we've had to balance it as well by not going completely off spectrum and doing something completely random. We've had to go through, and it is by looking very, very closely at the words used and subtle little changes in wording and vice versa has actually made a difference to what we're going on about. Okay, got a couple of the slides that Adthena have produced for us, so you can just kind of have a see. So just so you go, this is some of our competitors, brand, and you can see on the side we've got like a use of our phrases that are used, and then you can see the spectrum of who's actually using it, what's the impressions high to low, is a word being used often, is it not, what phrase, the froms, etc. And then work to have some recommendations of words that we could either use or what the competitors are using different to us, and how that all goes through. And we've done this both headline, down to description, and even down to display URLs. So starting to look to see, does someone have a very, very specific display URL? Does that make a difference? Is it what they're actually doing and how that goes through? So collating all that information. And what we've done is when we start looking at that, we've introduced new words. I know that one of the words we've kind of introduced is we've started to use the word quality, which we found wasn't being used very often previously within our environment. It's got that service, that kind of that positiveness of cover, but everybody seemed to be using the words best, fantastic, kind of some of those kind of words in our environment. Well, we were trying to change it to make it slightly different, and actually it does, when you look at an ad, it does stand out because they don't see that word on the page normally. So that's fine. That's just a very, very quick insight of what we've been doing with our copy analysis. Anyone have any questions at all? Please, no.
If you go back to the previous slide, which you had just before, the post office, you're talking about the least variations in display.
Yeah, so with the display URL, actually what we found is obviously there's not as many phrases and differences, but we've actually seen there is even some similarity in kind of a display URL. So some competitors almost within those 20 keywords use the same display URL. Others will vary it by keyword. So it's just kind of just seeing those subtle differences, those subtle changes to see actually, and I think in this example is that the post office have had in this environment actually not much change. They use the same display URL across all the ads that were analysed in this period piece. While obviously I think on this one we see that someone's using a special offer across those keywords. You've got to remember these are display URLs on using on travel insurance terms, so they're not, it's about special offer. So they're using /special offer rather on a travel insurance term or a holiday insurance term or best holiday insurance or something like that. So they're not necessarily doing something like, well, we might use insureandgo.com/travel insurance for travel insurance direct kind of, or those terms. So it's just, again, as I say, it's trying to look at how everything fits together and how it all works, and just trying to find those similarities, those differences, and really delving down into kind of quite minute detail in some of those words. And that's what I'd say is you can actually end up having a huge list of words, and it goes through that. But that's why we've limited it to the top competitors and kind of our top 20 converting keywords, because I don't know levels of keywords, but we obviously strain into our thousands. If we started doing Adcopy analysis on every keyword, every ad copy, I think you would have a long time supercomputer having to sit there for hours and years probably working it out. So we kind of look at that, and what we've done is we either make sure that we are similar or we're different, and we sometimes work out actually what we're doing is right, so actually why change it? And others we find, well, we don't do special offers, so we wouldn't ever have that as an offer, but it's nice to know what the competitors are doing and what they're looking at. I don't know if it's a feature. I'm sure the Adthena guys would be able to say it more, but I think we've done a lot of research of just looking for our ads that have capped, and actually you end up looking at the competitors' ads as well that are capped. And I think when we've used it, we've done a lot of searches on the 3 dots, because I think that's what, when it caps it in Google, I think Adthena picks up the 3 dots. Can someone agree with me if I'm correct? So therefore, if you do kind of, I think Mike touched on the filters, etc. If you start doing the filters for the 3 dots, you start seeing the ads that are capped in the environment. It's actually been a really useful tool, actually, especially I think probably over the next couple of months it's going to be really useful as it kind of comes more and more impressions. As we know, Google cut back, well, they should be live now, so, but obviously it's going to be live in the next few months, so that should be pretty good.
And I can support you on that, just obviously, you'll kind of see me later on. So yeah, exactly that. So what in Adthena we're able to give you is character length on the headline. So what you can see is all the competitors, what they're testing at the moment is trying out different lengths. Now the Google best practice, I don't know if you kind of follow AdWords on Twitter, they tweeted recently that the optimal length is around 23, 25, sometimes 32 actually characters. So different advertisers are testing at what point do they start getting the dots consistently. So either you can test it yourself, or you can learn from others' mistakes. So you actually get to see what everyone else is doing and what the average for, and also for vertical and device size device as well. So different character lengths for different devices, and learn from your competitors.
Just on another point, so obviously, as you said, that Google have come up with their recommendations. I love Google, can you tell? But what we as a company have experienced, even though we've sometimes gone in those recommendations, we've still seen some capping. We kind of thought, well, it's all about, ultimately it's about pixels, isn't it? I is much less pixels than a A or other letters or an M. But even still, even though we've gone in some of those, we've still seen, well, why is it capping it? We're down to like, I exaggerate, but we're down to 5 characters. How many characters do you want us to have? So we've had to use it, and we've actually ended up scaling back quite a lot of our headlines because we were just experiencing some kind of high rates of capping, and we just ended up with Adcopy that didn't make sense. It kind of, and I don't know if any of you guys do it, but we kind of obviously maybe do across headline 1 and 2 kind of sentences, and what we were finding is it was capping headline 1 halfway through there, and then you're like, so that sentence doesn't make sense in an ad copy. So it is quite a useful little tool just to have a look to see, one, if you've put that out there, is it capping it, to be honest, because I picked up on it, and it was interesting to see. So obviously we have to, that's something the customer sees, and you can't look at every ad. I actually, one day tried to actually get the ad myself, and I just couldn't get it. So I kind of played with it, but okay, anyone else? That's good. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.